We're in Krebs, Oklahoma. We've gathered here at the Krebs Brewing Company to do a collaborative brew, the first really of its kind, or at least of its scope in Oklahoma. Brewers from Oklahoma City, Stillwater, Tulsa have gathered here to brew a beer to raise money for our new association, the Craft Brewers Association of Oklahoma.
So yeah, one of the reasons that the CBAO formed was because we have a guild that's been around for a couple years, but in their formation process, they formed as a 501c3, and a 501c3 by law can't advocate for you at the legislature. And so, as we were approaching this legislative session, and as more talk ramped up, and we saw that this was really going to be an important session for alcohol modernization. We really saw the need that we needed an organization that could advocate for us at the legislature. So we put together the CBAO as kind of a sister organization to our current guild.
We're brewing a beer today that's called Collaboration for Legislation. We wanted to name it that to really shine a light on our focus, which is over the next few weeks, the beginning of the legislative session and the potential for beer law reform in the state of Oklahoma. So we wanted to do a 3-2 beer because Oklahoma has two different distribution systems and laws and regulations that go with those. On the 3-2 side, we're able as breweries to brew beer and then sell it to other breweries, sell it to consumers. So Anthem in Oklahoma City and Coop, Marshall, Prairie, and then here at the Chalk Room in Krebs, we'll be able to sell this beer directly in our tap rooms to beer drinkers. That's going to allow us to raise quite a bit of money to help fund some different lobbying efforts and organizational efforts for the Craft Brewers Association, you know, as we move forward with trying to reform and modernize the beer laws in Oklahoma. The beer itself is going to be a hoppy wheat beer, so I think it's going to be a really good example of, you know, a really sessionable, flavorful, interesting beer, but at the same time is going to show to some degree sort of the restraints that 3-2 and the 3-2 limitations put on us. If we could brew this beer a little bit stronger, I think we probably would. I think, you know, although it's going to be a great beer, the one we brew today, I think a little bit, you know, a little bit higher alcohol would make this beer still very reasonable, still a very responsible beer, but at the same time a little bit more flavorful and a little bit more interesting. So it's going to be a really good start to this collaboration process for the CBAO. It can be hard to get a lot of different things at the low gravity. This is a hoppy wheat beer, right? So we're going to dry hop it to add a lot of those aromatics. I think if we had a little bit more body to the beer, so if we could add a little bit more grain, which is, you know, going to make the alcohol a little bit higher, but it's also going to provide some of that body, a little bit more depth to sort of round out the hop character. You know, so just when you're thinking about beer, you're thinking about balance, and sort of the more malt you can add, the more ability it gives you to be expressive with the hops. But with the 3-2 limitations, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. It kind of restrains what you can do on either one of those fronts.
Creating some flexibility for breweries. You know, I think that in general, I think we'd all like to see a lot of this sort of transition from constitutional words to statutory words, so that the laws can grow and change as our industry grows and changes. You know, providing more access to our product to consumers, I think, is always a positive, not only for us as a business, but I think it's a huge positive for the consumer. I think it's because the industry is still kind of young. It's still a little small as compared to other states. You know, there are in other states where they have 100+ breweries. They've had organizations like ours for years. And they've already gone through a lot of these modernization processes with their state. You know, we are fairly new, and, you know, we really only have one brewery that has existed longer than 10 years, and you guys are standing in it, you know, so it takes time, and getting everyone on the same page, while it has been pretty easy in this process, isn't always easy.
We should see the beer starting to show up in brewery tap rooms 2, maybe 3 weeks. So we're looking sometime, you know, the first week or so in February. And again, you'll be able to get the beer here in Krebs at the Chalk Room. You'll be able to get the beer at Anthem in Oklahoma City, at Coop in Oklahoma City, Marshall and Prairie Artisan Ales up in Tulsa.